Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to join. Okay, it is not compulsory, so sometimes maybe if you need to go off or something, just leave me a message that you need to go off. So one of the things that I wanted to go through was specifically just to recap what was tested and everything. I know last week you had your job paper, and I hope you all did well. Okay, so I really hope you do go to the website specifically, and especially the website. I think for a reason because it does help you to actually navigate. So, what is tested, what are the essay topics. I want you to really explore the website a little bit more. There were supposed to be some other videos in it, but I will check again why it suddenly disappeared from the website. Okay, what will be tested, especially the essay topics. I've sent it to you via WhatsApp, but this is specifically the ones that I thought I wanted you guys to focus on. Okay, so later on, we'll just go through this very quickly. All right, so it is in the website. And then, of course, your source-based question skills and your other resources. Okay, especially, how to do inference and everything else. Okay, so now please take a look at part one. Okay, we're going to look at this one, part one of your revision paper, which you already have. Okay, and if you look very closely again, remember it's just a 1 hour 15 minutes paper. Please remember that you don't have a lot of time to spare. Okay, you actually only have 3 questions for source base. 3 questions for source base. Remember that. Okay, and in these 3 questions for source base, let me just admit everyone else. Okay, for these 3 questions in source base, remember it is inference. It is 2 inference question and 1 compare contrast question. Please remember that in your inference question, 4 marks means it is just 1 inference. Okay, 4 marks is actually just 1 inference. Okay, I am going to load down my computer here to write, so you may not see me now. Okay, so it is actually just 1 inference. Don't waste time. Inference 1. Okay, and then your second inference, 5 marks, you must make sure it is inference times 2. Right, and compare contrast, it can be either similar, it can be either difference. Okay, and it is either 2 similarities or 2 differences. So take note of that. Okay, and what is the topic that I'm testing you? I'm testing you on the topic, did Singapore have to fall to the Japanese? So chapter 4, which means that all the source-based questions in part 2, CHIJ paper, Geylang Methodist paper, Manjusri paper, and Sembawang, which we did. Okay, we did Sembawang, the full paper, are good revision for you. A good revision for you because the topic is all on just chapter 5. Okay, so I hope you understand that. Today we go through, I will go through now, later on, I think CHIJ and Geylang Methodist. And then the other things that I will go through is I will record separately. And then you all can sort of recap some of this. Okay, and then I'll update at the website. Okay, for essay, specifically essay, can you see? All right, it is very, very scope. Scope meaning that it is something that you can study on your own, meaning textbooks. Okay, look at your textbook. All these pages are the ones that I'm scoping for you. Scope means these are the things that definitely will be tested. Okay, oops, I think I have done everything. Okay, this one. Okay, so how does your essay look like? Okay, let me just take this out and erase it. Okay, so how does your essay look like? Your essay will look like this. Okay, there'll be 3 of this. That means question 2, question 3, and question 4. I hope you all remember. Don't make the mistake. Make sure you just 3 choices, only choose 2. Don't need to choose all of it. Okay, so an example would be something like that. You will have state 3 effects. Remember when we have state, we have something that's just 3 marks, 3 marks. You don't have to explain so much. You really don't have to explain so much. Okay, it's really just about listing things in just simple bullet form kind of answers, because it's just 1 mark for each stating of facts. Okay, so for example, like this, state the 3 effects of Great Depression. All right, so you have, okay, the 3 effects is example 1, example 2, example 3. So just state. That is all that you need to do. Okay. Now for question B, where you have described something, of course you need your content, because look at it. What am I looking at? I'm looking at something that is 7 marks, 7 marks. So that means you need to write at least minimally 2 paragraphs. No need to write for me a conclusion. No need to write for me an introduction, paragraph. No need. Okay, you just describe straight away the factors. That means the points that you need. So look at question B. Okay, so when I say describe, okay, describe the impact, because my question is about opening, how it will benefit Singapore. Give me a minute, let me erase this. Okay, how it benefits Singapore, then definitely you need to tell me about how it has benefited Singapore. So if you just describe for me what is Suez Canal, oh, it is a canal, ships are traveling, it is very busy, then you get 1 to 2 marks. Okay, then if let's say, for example, you identify, what am I asking? I'm asking about how Suez Canal benefited Singapore. So that means if it benefits Singapore, you must talk about the impact of it. And with impact, you need to describe a little bit more. So that is why you will get 3 to 4 marks. Okay, now again, go back to the question. Always remember, you need to answer the question. And when you answer the question, we are looking at how did Suez Canal benefit Singapore? Then you must tell me about the impact. And the impact we're talking about is, of course, positive impact. But when you write a paragraph, okay, you can see it's not long-winded paragraph. It's straight to the point. Okay, so how does Suez Canal, for example, when I open up Suez Canal, it benefits Singapore. It benefits Singapore because it increases the volume of ships. Then you give me this part here is actually the example. Okay, ships pass by Straits of Malacca, stop at Singapore. And how does it benefit Singapore? Oh, because we receive more ships. When we have more ships, we have more businesses. That's it. All right, so you see, it is very clear. As long as you're able to, and the tip is, as long as you're able to answer the question, you must know what the question is asking you. All right, so that is the one that is super important. Okay, so again, the other example, this should be example 2, sorry. All right, enhance the role. So what is the other benefit? Oh, it makes Singapore a coaling station. Okay, what is the benefit of a coaling station? A coaling station means that at the end of the day, it becomes a good and important location for steamships where they are able to actually get businesses. Right. Now, this is a sample of how an essay is written. Again, for those of you who just came in, what are the different topics that I'm looking at? I'm looking at chapter 3. I'm looking at chapter 4 only. Chapter 3 and 4 for your essay. Chapter 3 and 4 from your textbook in your essay. What are the topics that I can ask you? I can ask you, how did British help develop Singapore into Singapore to the port city? I can ask you specifically about the impact. Okay, I can also ask you about immigrants, which is quite easy, right? And I ask you about occupation. Okay, so where do you get the points now? If, for example, you feel that the textbook is just too much, Madam K, it's just too much for me to brain right now, then what you do is look at this. So this has been scoped, meaning from now all the way to Tuesday, which is the history paper, read what is the meaning of areas that the British play role in free port status. What is the meaning of free port status? They let travelers or traders from different places trade freely. Administrative changes. This is what the British did. What else did the British? Administrative changes is really just to make the admin better, because they have certain processes, certain routines. Okay, law and order. What is the meaning of law and order? Or they actually make sure that there was some sort of rules. Okay, so no. Okay, remember certain parts of especially this. All right, the ones in red are the ones that are important for you to remember. Okay, now what about education system? What did the British provide in the education system? So go and memorize and start remembering certain things. Okay, whether it is about education, about healthcare. Okay, Now, another thing which we did really, I would say in detail was about, again, Suez Canal. Okay, I mentioned Suez Canal so many times, all right? And then the other one is definitely tin industry. We talk about tin industry as well. How and what did the tin industry do? So all this requires effort for you to at least 1 time, 2 times, 3 times go and memorize certain factors, okay? Now, next is, of course, the other impact of tin, the impact of rubber, because these are all external impact that affect Singapore. Okay, and of course, our favorite is, I think this was missing here, Great Depression. Okay, you have all the materials. What I did not give you was all the ones in red. So what you should do to memorize is, okay, write it down. Write it down, okay, so that you can actually have some sort of memory work here. Okay, cannot just memorize from your computer. I want you to write down in your notes. Okay, Great Depression. What's the impact of Great Depression? Oh, it restricts the number of immigrants. Example 1, example 2. Remember, you're just describing. You are just describing. So again, it is really about facts. Just give me the facts. Just give me the example. When you describe something, I'm looking at or I'm looking for examples. Okay, what else? Okay, this one I think is super easy. I think we've gone through this. All right, what are push and pull factors? Examples of push and pull factors. Okay, and of course, occupation. I think we've done so many rounds of this, I think, in the quiz that we had in class. Agree? Okay. Now we go to the a little bit more demanding, I would say, which is the different source-based questions. Okay, so we've done Sembawang. Okay, we did Sembawang. So what I do want to go through is let me just take a look. Okay, I do want to go through Geylang Methodist. Geylang Methodist we did already, right? In class, we did Geylang Methodist. Anyway, all these answers is online at the website. All these answers is online at the website. Okay, all right, so you can do and you can check your answers there. I will also be doing videos on these 4 papers so that later on, as you're doing, I hope you sort of understand how to do comparison questions. So today, because we've done Sembawang and we've done Geylang, maybe okay, I think we can do Manjusri. All right, we can do Manjusri paper. So take out your part 2 notes, part 3 notes. Your part 3 notes should be with you. Okay, and then we do Manjusri paper. What we're going to do is we're going to unpack, and we will do the unpacking together. Okay. All right, so when we have this kind of question, first things first, when you get your paper on Tuesday, when you open it up, then you must identify which are inference question. So always remember, when you have an inference question, infer is I-E-E. Okay, I-E-E. I stands for infer, E stands for your evidence, E stands for your explanation. Okay, so always remember you need that certain concept about what is inference. Okay, so every time you see the what does the source tell you, but do remember when the question is asking what does the source tell you about Singapore's defense, then you need to zoom in. You need to zoom in about the defense of Singapore. And we all know chapter 5 is whether or not Singapore's defense is good. Singapore's defense is bad because the Japanese were just stronger. Okay, now 4 marks, usually you will only have 1 major inference. Okay, so when you have this kind of question, what should you do? You should straight away, first things first, answer the question. The source tells me that Singapore's defense is something. Give me the source, give me the evidence or the source details. Okay, give me the evidence. And from the evidence, you need to explain. Okay, so it is basic inference here. So we'll go through the question and then we'll go through the source in a bit. Now, next is, what can you infer about the reasons why Singapore was defeated? So again, what is the most important part of this question is, obviously, you know, it's an inference, but what else do you know about this? You know, is what about the reasons why Singapore was defeated? Reasons why Singapore was defeated. So that means as you read the source, you need to pick up why Singapore was defeated. I think this is the one that is perhaps very important. Understand? Okay, so we must always zoom in. You must always know what the question is asking you. So answer the question. Now, for question C, so you have exactly like this. I repeat, question 4, question 5, question A, B, and C, 4 marks, 5 marks, 6 marks. Okay. Now, in what ways are sources similar? All right. And when we look at similarity, we are looking at comparison. So when you compare something, there must be a certain criteria. Okay, so when we compare something, there must be a certain criteria. In what way are the sources similar? In what way are the sources? It could also be in what way are the sources different. Take note of that. Okay, now again, for those of you who just came in, we are looking at Manjusri paper. Okay, so you won't have a little back, because what is background information? Okay, certain schools, they sort of have this background information, and this background information is just to tell you a little bit about what is happening. Okay, so I think for some of this was a question that came out in one of the different worksheets that we had. So for those of you who've done that worksheet, I think very good. This is just like a revision of sorts. Okay, now why did Singapore fall to the Japanese? So it does tell you it actually fall to the Japanese invasion quickly, very 70 days. Okay, now was the victory due to the British weakness or to the strength of the Japanese forces? Now remember, look at question 1. What does the source tell you about Singapore's defense? And if you look very closely at source A, always remember you're writing on foolscap paper on that day. So when you write on foolscap paper, make sure you label. Label 1A, 1B, 1C. Okay, label question 2, question 3, label. Okay, unlike geography, where all your answers is written in the answer booklet, in history, it is going to be like foolscap paper, just like your English paper or your mother tongue paper. Okay. Now, what does the source tell you about Singapore's defense? Now you look at this. Now, it looks like Singapore's defense was very strong. How do you know? Because if this was obviously this is the story from the big bad wolf, right? So if this was literally a wolf, okay, a Japanese wolf, then you can see Singapore is here. This one of the little pigs, actually, the most successful little pigs, actually has a brick house. Agree? So it does seem to tell you that Singapore's defense in a brick like this, what was it like? It was actually very strong. Agree? Yes, it was very strong. It was actually very impregnable, cannot be destroyed. Can you see that? So what am I doing here? I am doing my inference. Okay, so expect whether it's a cartoon, expect it could be a graph, expect a picture. You need to expect all of these and you need to make the inference. And you obviously know that this actually shows that Singapore's defense is so good. Singapore's defense is so strong. Singapore's defense cannot be destroyed. Where's the evidence? The evidence is this. The evidence is the wolf keeps on puffing, huffing. I hope I got it right. The wolf was huffing, right? And nothing destroyed Singapore, the house. Agree? Nothing. It didn't move. It didn't budge. So what does this tell you? So what am I doing? I'm finding the evidence. Because it's a picture, I will describe the evidence. Because this is a picture, I am describing the evidence. So what is then the explanation? All right. So this suggests that Singapore's defense is too strong or was too strong for the Japanese to destroy because they were just that good. Okay, so no matter what the Japanese did, it will actually be useless. That's it. So you see, you have your explanation. You start from number 1, your inference, number 2, your evidence, and number 3, your explanation. Right, just one of it, because I'm asking for only what? One, right? So I'm asking for these 4 marks, right? Can you see? Just like this, you can always get your 4 marks. Okay? All right. Now for the next one is, what can you infer? So again, even though the question is like, what does the source tell you? But the second question is, what can you infer from the source about the reason why Singapore was defeated? So again, focus on why Singapore was defeated. So you must always, always, always remember, it is really at the end of the day about understanding your question. What is the question asking you? So let's look at source B, okay, and let's sort of annotate. All right, so let's see, adapted from an article on Singapore's defeat. Now, because this is 5 marks, okay, so you look at the answers, this part here, okay, there will be 2 differences. There will be 2 different, two inference, not 2 differences, 2 inference, okay? So in February, blah, 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 okay, so one of the inference would be, highlight first, tactical miscalculation on the part of the British General Percival and poor communication between the military and civilian authorities. So there are 2 reasons. There's one reason here. There's another reason specifically here. Okay, Singapore's 15-inch coastal guns, the island's main defense were destroyed. Can you see? So I'm asking you the reasons why Singapore was defeated. There are 2 specific reasons. One of the reasons is obviously there was actually very poor defense. Okay, so this is one. The inference would be poor defense. How do I know poor defense? Because the guns that were supposed to protect Singapore was actually destroyed. Okay, then what is the other inference? The other inference is there was a miscalculation. Tactical means tactics, strategy. Tactics or strategies. And what happened to the strategies? The strategies were really poor because of specifically this guy here. We all know, I think you all know from primary school about General Percival, right? And it worsened and it made the British defense even more terrible. So the idea here is the second inference is definitely leadership. So the second inference will be leadership. The leadership was actually just poor. Can you see? So again, go back to the question. The question is asking you, what can you infer about the reason why Singapore was defeated? You are able to pick up 2 points. However, during the exam, if let's say, under stress, under a lot of, I don't know, some of you may suddenly blank out because, oh no, I cannot remember certain things, all right? Then what you do is focus on one good inference that you can actually write. You will get about 4 marks already, 3 to 4 marks already. Okay, so as long as you don't leave blank, as long, I repeat, you don't leave blank, you are able to get the marks. And it's quite easy to get inference. So on Tuesday, make sure that you have pen, you have your highlighters, make sure that you actually annotate. What I'm doing right now, what I'm showing to you right now is annotation. And you need to read between the lines. And I want you to remember also inference, this poor defense, this answer that is poor defense here, as well as the answer that I'm actually circling with you now, that leadership is poor here, doesn't come from the source itself. Leadership, you can't see the word leadership here. Correct? Poor defense, maybe defensive weapons, but the idea about it, you are trying to make a guess. So I want you to remember that inference at the end of the day is about guessing. Okay? So to inference, of course, you give me the source details, you give me the explanation, that is where you get your 5 marks. All right, for the last question, okay, we're about to finish. In what ways are the sources similar? So I want you to take note, there are a few ways to do this method. Some students, what they would do is they will look at the 2 sources and then they will compare it. They compare. So when you say something is similar, there must be certain things that oops, sorry. There must be certain things that you see in terms of content, they are the same. Okay, the trick is for you to read both two sources and find out for, let's see, are there any keywords that are similar? Are there any key ideas that are similar? Are there any key points that are similar? They must be similar about something. So if the question is asking you just similar, just look at similar. That means there's no difference I'm looking at. Okay? All right. Now let's take a look at this. Okay, so let's see a description of the Japanese invasion of Singapore here. Okay, when the Japanese attacked, it indicated of their military prowess in the region. That means how strong they are. Military power. Okay, their soldiers were ruthless, brutal, and fearless, and the attack happened with a speed that the British forces were completely, by surprise. They were like literally was shocked. Okay, now let's look at source D. Is there anything that talks also, okay, about the Japanese? Okay, the British had confidently predicted that the Japanese would attack from the sea. It was unthinkable to the British military that the island would attack, but this was exactly the route that the Japanese took. Okay, let's see. Is there anything that about Japanese strategies? Here it says that, taken by surprise. Can you see this? Taken by surprise. There is a keyword here, taken by surprise, this one. Whereas in source D, is there any surprise elements that the Japanese did? Yes, they did. Because why? The British initially thought that the Japanese would attack from the sea. But it was unthinkable that the island was attacked in another way. In fact, the island was attacked by, Singapore was attacked through jungle and swamps, and this was exactly what the route that the Japanese took. So can you see that actually the similarities here is the Japanese had a very good strategy, and their strategy was the element of surprise. So it was about both of them are similar. So if the question, let's go back to the question. In what ways are the sources similar? So when you answer this, you have to write source C and D are similar in showing that the Japanese launch a smart, a strategic, a very clever attack on Singapore. They did, didn't they? Because it was completely full. They completely fooled the British. Okay, you have this. What do you call this? This is actually your criteria of comparison. That means you are comparing. You are comparing both what source? Source C and source D. Okay, next, from source C, what you do is you give me the evidence from the source. This suggests that you summarize what the evidence is about. So this suggests the ... here. This suggests is sort of a summary of your evidence. That is the whole idea. It's a summarized version. It's like a summary of what is the evidence is that you have picked up. Okay. Now you must always remember this. And because you're comparing, right? Just now you only had evidence from source C, right? And source D also shows the evidence about surprise element, that the Japanese actually had a very smart or strategic attack. And then you have this suggests that. Okay. Summary of source D. And then that's it. Okay. So you have one paragraph actually shows you very clearly. Okay. I repeat again, very clearly your comparison. So you can see, first, you must tell me they are similar. They are similar in what? They are similar because Japan launched a very smart, strategic, clever attack. What is the second step? So first step here, second step, you need From source C, give me the evidence, correct? This suggests that, what am I looking for this? This suggests that I'm giving you the explanation. The explanation is basically a summary, okay? Then third step, I must have connecting link, and if it's similar is and, if it's different is however. What else do I need? I have evidence from C, I need evidence from D. And this suggests that, again, another part which is explanation, the summary. Okay, now for this particular question, and I did write, I think there was only a very strong, only one similarity in comparison. Okay, so Manjushri paper, they awarded 6 marks for one similarity. But in our exams, we are going to have 2 different kinds of content similarity. Okay. All right. So again, go back and look through at the best way for you right now is for you to practice is definitely go through the source-based question. I also want you to sort of practice specifically, look at all the different content here. Okay, take a bit of time to go and recap, since I think a lot of your content heavy subjects are going to be next week. Correct. So I think study, just revise, okay? Revise and make sure that you remember the main points. Okay, Sembawang we've done together. I've given you answers. I think Manjushri is the one that I've gone through today. We did go through Geylang. I remember we went through this, okay? And this is the other one that I will record a video, and then after that, I'll put it online. Anyway, all the answers, again, I repeat, I have already put it online here, okay? So go and start practicing. Remember, we need to aim for the best grade that you can get. Okay, as long as you don't panic, definitely you are able to score. Okay, I'll start recording.